All right, this is going to be a video on a Peccary body Euro Nymph. I kind of beat it up a little bit so that you can see the body a little bit better. So that's kind of what we're going to have when we're all said and done here. Peccary is definitely one of my favorite materials. It's really, really cool looking when you wrap it. It's one of the materials that got me going on tying my own custom flies. I saw what it looks like when you wrap it, and I was like, man, that looks really, really cool. And I just kind of really started liking working with it. So that's kind of what got me going tying some of my own stuff, is looking at Peccary and being like, man, you can create some really cool things. So Peccary's always been one of my favorite materials to tie with. So I use them for a lot of my Euro Nymphs too. In the vise is an ahrex FW 550 in a size 10. Ahrex has kind of become my favorite Euro Nymph hook, so this is what I tie almost all of my Euro Nymphs on. This is a Mounds Firehole Stone, slotted tungsten bead, 3.5 millimeter. All that stuff is going to be right in the description. You can see the whole materials list there. And I'm going to start out with some UTC 70, and I want to make sure we understand why I'm using this. I want to use a flat thread, and the reason why I want a flat thread is because when you're wrapping a body with something like Peccary, you don't want, lumps and, different things. You want a nice, smooth, uniform underbody, and a flat thread is what allows you to do that. Now, the reason why I'm using white is because if you look at this is the bleached. There's all different colors. There's natural, purple, all different stuff. With the bleached, you gotta make sure that you're careful with the thread color, because in order to wrap this, you have to soak it. Once you soak it, it becomes a little bit translucent. And once it becomes a little translucent, you can start to see the color of the thread bleeding through, and that can kind of mess up your body color. So what I want to do here is I want to look at these fibers, and you can see how they go from like a light brown to a white, back to a white, and they keep kind of alternating. Some of the tips, you can see how there's just not a lot of white in the tips. And the reason why that might be an issue is because when you start wrapping the fiber, I think it's a fiber. What do you call a piece of Peccary? I don't know. We'll go with fiber. But once you start wrapping that, if there's no white up by the tip, you're not really going to get that variation in color on your body. So you want to make sure that you pick a fiber where up towards the tip, you've got a little bit of that white, and that's where you'll get that alternating color. If you choose a fiber that doesn't have that alternating color, you're not really going to get the effect that you want. Now, the reason why I picked the hare right away, or the fiber right away, the reason why I picked that right away is, as I said a minute ago, this has to be soaked. Now, the upside is you don't have to soak this for 20, 30 minutes. I mean, just a minute or two. So I always pull the fiber first. And off to my right here, I've got a little container with some water in it. So I'm going to dip that in there, and I'm going to leave that and let that soak for a couple of minutes while we tie in the next couple of materials. So we'll take a couple of wraps, cover up that tag end. And the first thing I'm going to tie in is my tail. And for that, I'm going to use this CDL patch. This came from a tailing pack from Whiting. And this pack's got some really, really nice modeling to it. CDL is a really, really good Euro Nymph tailing material. And I'm just going to pull, 3, maybe 4 fibers. You don't really want too many fibers, because the name of the game with Euro Nymphs is sink rate. And the more water-absorbing, bulky materials you add to your fly, the more you're going to affect your sink rate. So I'm just going to put those fibers up there to measure my length, switch my grip to my left hand, and I'm just going to start making touching wraps while I hold the tips of my tail to make sure that they stay on top of the hook shank. And we're pretty good right about there. Now, I'm going to pull the Peccary out of the water in a minute, but before I do that, I want to show you, this is, I know it's hard to see with the camera, but that is a standard pedestal base. And if you have a vise that is either a C-clamp or a vise that came with a base, what I would recommend that you do is still buy this pedestal base. You can buy it from almost any online fly shop. They're about 20 bucks. And even if you're not using it for your vise, it really doesn't matter, because really what it is it's a it's a solid metal surface for you to do a lot of different things on. Now, see all the scratches on there? One of the things that I use this for is I use a razor blade to cut foam. So it's a really nice platform to cut foam on. And what I also do is not only cut foam, well, really just cut anything. So you're not cutting into your whatever desk you're using. But I'm going to pull this piece of peccary out. And I'm just going to run my fingers down it like that to squeegee out some of the water. Another bench side tool I have is just an old pair of needle nose pliers. And I'm going to take this fiber, I'm going to lay it on my pedestal base, and I'm just going to run the needle nose pliers right over the top of them. And all I'm doing is flattening that fiber. I want to try to make that as flat as I can. It makes it wrap onto the hook with a little bit of a better profile. Makes it a little bit easier. So I'm just kind of mashing it down, right, making it flat. So I have something that looks like that now. So what I'm going to do is, like I would with anything, I'm going to just slip that right into that little nook there where my thread is. Get a nice soft wrap. Then make my way back towards the front with touching wraps. Come in here, snip off my excess, get rid of that. Okay, so let's go all the way to the bead with this. And I'm going to let go of my thread and just kind of give it a little clockwise spin to get some of the twist out of there. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to the front. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to the front. And all I'm doing is I'm just building up a taper. And by going a certain number of wraps towards the back to the front, and then back to your spot where you left off, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Wrap that back towards the front. You're just building up a nice even taper. And we're going to go one more time. I'm just going to make a couple of wraps here at the head. Let's go down to where we left off. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm not going to go one more wrap because I want to leave it just bare right at the bottom. And then back to the front, and there's a taper. So we'll take our peccary, fold it over. We'll pull down, make our first wrap. As we come up on the back side, make sure your next wrap is touching. And then it's a pretty easy process from here. Just take your time. Come on up and just make touching wraps all the way up. Just try not to twist it. Keep it nice and flat. It'll follow that tapered body that you created. And you can see that alternating color there. Just creates, some nice little deception there. Differences in colors and things different that the fish can see. Peccary's always been a really cool material that caught a ton of fish on. All right, and then we'll snip that off. All right, so we were able to wrap that around without a problem, but peccary actually is a really, really brittle material. So once that water dries out, that body's really just going to break apart. So pretty easy fix, something we do on pretty much all Euro nymphs. Just going to take a little bit of this Solares bone dry, and I'm just going to apply a coat of that right over the body. And the good thing about this is not only does it protect the body, but when you apply the Solares, it also kind of glossens it up a little bit and gives it a really nice effect. I had a little bit of a droop of stuff, so I want to kind of clean that up a little bit. You don't want too much on there. You just kind of want to coat it. Let's zap that with our torch. Get that cured up. I've said in my previous videos, if you have just a regular, generic, everyday torch like I did for a long, long time, you should upgrade that. It's kind of crazy how much better these Solares UV torches are. Much better. All right, so for the collar, or the thorax, whatever you want to call it, I'm just going to use some just general natural hares here. And depending on what color body you're doing, obviously you can mix that up anyway. You know, if you're using the natural, you can... Actually, natural hares here would work with natural peccary too. It's really up to you. But I'm going to form a tight dubbing noodle on here. I'm not really going to, you know, mound it up. I'm not going to put a ton of it on there. You can kind of see that's wound pretty tightly. And the reason why, again, is because we don't want all kinds of, you know, random material flowing all over the place. That's going to prevent us from getting our fly down deep. You want to maintain the sink rate as much as possible. So make sure that that is dubbed nice and tight. Also, hare really soaks up water. So you're going to get a nice little buggy bubble even with a little bit of dubbing. So keep your thread mashed up against the bead and just kind of give that some wraps, and you'll see how that'll just naturally take shape. You don't want to go up and down the body. Just keep it mashed up against the bead, and you'll get the look that you want with your thorax. I'm going to take a little Velcro. I'm just going to kind of pick a little bit out of that and stroke it kind of towards the back of the fly. Just give it a few swipes, and you'll see that all set there. Final order of business here is I have a regular CDC feather. I'm going to grab this by the tips, and I'm just going to kind of stroke these fibers back until I expose a tie-in point right there. So just stroke those back, switch my grip, and I'm going to slip that right there with my tie-in point right where my thread is. Give that 3 good wraps. Fold it all back. Give it a couple more so that's all secured. Get that little tag part out of there. And you don't really need a ton of this. I usually just do 1 wrap. So I'm going to take my CDC, I'm going to fold everything back so that it's angled towards the back of the fly. I'm going to take a wrap here underneath. I'm going to hold it. Bring it back up on the other side. And once you get 1 complete wrap, just work your thread in there to get that tied off. 3 wraps, secure it, get everything stroked towards the back. And get that kind of cut off here without cutting everything. Okay, now obviously you can see after I cut it, that didn't leave a ton of fibers, but that's kind of what you want. You don't want this fly overloaded with CDC. You want to make sure that you can still see the body. You want those fibers on front to collect some water. Now, the reason why you do the CDC is because the hare is going to completely absorb water, and it's going to form like a buggy kind of bubble. The CDC will eventually absorb water as well, but it's a little bit of a different material than the dubbing. It's got some oils in it. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a little bit of water resistance when that gets wet, and it's going to form that tapered look that you often see from a mayfly. So if you look at a mayfly nymph, a lot of those mayfly nymphs, you look at the front of them, they're a lot thicker with the big robust head and the wing case, and then the body gets thinner. That's the profile you're going to get from this fly, which is one of the reasons why I love it. And I'll show you what that looks like after I tie this off. Now, before I tie it off, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some wraps here because I want a little bit of a thread collar. And I want to point out that depending on what your preference is, at this step, if you want to just tie off your white thread and tie on something different, you can also tie this fly in a way where you can make a little bit of a hot spot. I just tied about 2 dozen of these, so this is the fly I use all the time, so I have these readily available. Here is one where I switched the thread at the very end, and you can see how I kind of made an orange hot spot there, so that's another one you can do too. This fly does come out looking kind of like a little bit of a blowtorch. The blowtorch is a fly I've had some really good success on in the West Branch of the Delaware, which is where I started using this fly instead. So if you fish in that area, this is a great fly for that river. So Give that a try with or without that orange hotspot. And that's pretty much it. That is your Peccary Euro Nymph. This one is tied with a bleached fiber, but I do these in purple, natural, all of them. And what I want to do before I sign off here on this, I've got this water next to me. I want to show you the effect that tying it this way has. Let me dip this. I got this whole thing in here. I'm going to dip this in the water. Give that a second for that to soak up as much water as you can. And the cool thing is when you do this, I'm looking at it right now, and the CDC is freely flowing. You know, something that really absorbs a lot of water, like dubbing, that's going to kind of adhere itself to the hook shank. But the CDC kind of resists it a little bit, and it's got some real movement in the water, and it's pretty cool. Just giving that a second to kind of soak up. There we go. So that's your fly wet. You can kind of see what I mean, how the hair kind of absorbed all that, and the CDC makes it so that you still get that buggy look, you still get the look you're looking for, but you can still make the body out, which is a really important aspect of this fly. And that's kind of the look that you're going to get. You're also going to get some waving of the CDC and some movement. There's a lot of really cool things as to why tying it this way is really, really effective. So give it a try, you know, but get yourself some Peccary, get some different colors. Don't forget to soak and flatten the Peccary. That little pedestal base I showed you is a really cool bench side tool. It's $20 at pretty much any fly shop. So actually, you know, I'm going to put the dry one back in the vise here. Let that dry off a little bit. My hands are soaked, so I got that wet a little bit. But that's a dry one. That's kind of what we finished up with. Give it a try. It's a great fly, super effective. Gives you the profile you're looking for. You'll catch a ton of fish on it. I use it pretty much everywhere I go. I tie multiple dozens per year. I always have them in my fly box. It's a great fly. So if you have any questions, comments, anything, just throw them up in the comments. As I said in my last video, I was really surprised to see how many people watch my videos that aren't subscribed, which is crazy. So mash the subscribe button and leave anything you need right in the comments.